Hello, everybody. It's Friday. That means it's time for another topic of the week. So, this week's topic, we're going to jump right into it. What I wanted to talk about this week was to sort of continue the discussion in an interesting way from the show this week. So, on the show this week, we covered all of the Monstrous Arcanum monsters, and then had a very slight tangential discussion about Tomrican's Horde. We're going to cover them in the Chaos Dwarves, the Legions of Asgore, in a future show. But I've always been a huge fan of the Monstrous Arcanum. Basically, from the time I discovered they existed, which was, some number of years back when I realized there was something beyond what was on my local store shelves. That there was this weird thing called Forge World. And they made these, sort of boutique resin miniatures. And obviously, most of what they do is 40K. It was true then, it's still true now. 40K and Horus Heresy, I should say. But I've always loved them just because I like unusual and rare minis. And plus I like monsters. It's really like a great overlap Venn diagram for me. I like putting unusual things on the table, and I love big Griblies. Like, if you look at what I tend to paint, I love big robots and big dragons and weird monsters. Like, if there's what usually will sell me on an army is, does the army have a cool centerpiece model? I know that sounds stupid, but like Marathi or Archaon or whatever, like, those are things I was excited to get and paint, and that I'm excited to play with. The Mega Boss is another great example. And so the Forge World Monstrous Arcanum stuff presents some interesting options. The big exalted demons and, things like the Magma Dragon and stuff like that. So it raised the question. I just realized my light's in the shot there. It raised the question to me of, sort of for a long time why we don't see more. Now, part of the reason is probably twofold. One, I know that 40K and Horus Heresy are, well, first of all, Horus Heresy, it's the way that product is basically made and supported is purely through Forge World. At the same time, it's basically, it's printing money for them, because they can sell like a shoulder pad upgrade kit and a head upgrade kit and a gun upgrade kit, and it's 3 different kits for one set of 5 Space Marines or something. Or, different arms for Contempt or Dreadnoughts or whatever the case may be. So, and I don't begrudge them that at all. If I had a money-making machine, I'd press the button too. But the real, another big challenge that Forge World had for a while was that they didn't have anybody who was actually, like, in charge of the AoS section of the studio. So they had, leadership and direction for the other lines, but not for AoS. But that has changed. In the last year, we've got a new leader for AoS who's, theoretically their task is to make new stuff for AoS. Obviously, we've seen the big Corn Dragon. I don't think, even if he ever gets, like, he'll probably get released at the end of this year. It's going to be like a Thunderhawk thing that's so big and expensive and hard to use that you can't really put it in a normal game, I strongly suspect. Because it's ridiculous. Like, it would be on a base, I don't even know what base you put it on. It's like 2 to 3 times the size of a Dreadsaurian, who already barely fits on anything. So that raised the question to me of, all right, we've got some leadership in, so theoretically we're going to see some stuff for AoS. So the question is, what do you want to see for Age of Sigmar? Do you want to see new monsters? Do you want to see updates to an army? Do you want to see individual support, special characters? Because they don't make just big things. There's also interesting support, like there's the Skaven Warlord on Brood Horror and the Wolf Rats. There's like the Femir. There's, so there's little people too. What would be, if you could pick one thing you wanted to see from Forge World, from new AoS, what would you want to see them expand? What would be your one project of choice for them to work on? I think, this is a bit of wish listing, of course, but I think it's interesting to think about. For myself, personally, what I would really love, and what I think would be, really super cool, is if they use the opportunity to fill out a couple of the, what I would normally call dangler factions, with just some interesting, useful units. I'm not even sure exactly what that is. Like, we could make Tom real happy and say, like, Swift Hawk agents or something, but they're emblematic of what I mean. Where you've got, like, almost an army, right, but not quite. I don't think they'd ever be good or even great, but it'd be neat to, in that boutique way, where theoretically, because it's resin, resin miniatures are cheaper to produce than plastic. So there's that. But so theoretically the bar is lower. They don't need to try to sell, hundreds of thousands of kits to pay off the cost of the mold for plastic. So I think that would be a great opportunity. You can pick whatever faction you like. I think there's probably 8 or 9 reasonable armies you could pick like this, where like maybe they already have like some kind of leader and maybe even just 1 or 2 troops or 1 or 2 other units. They're not really a full faction, right? They're kind of just half there. They got split off and now they're just kind of sitting. I think Forge World would be a great opportunity to print a couple minis for those specific factions, make them look really cool. They could be in an old world aesthetic if that's appropriate, because who cares? Because Forge World prints plenty of stuff that's still in that aesthetic, so it wouldn't be that weird. And it would really be a neat opportunity for people for collectors who really had a passion for that particular army to go that direction and fill it out. So there you go. That's my wish, but what's yours? Drop it down in the comments below, or make a response video. If you do, post that down there and I'll link it down in the description. As always, you can look down there to see not only all of the videos that have been made in response, but also to last week's video. So, look forward to your responses and discussion. Look forward to some awesome wish listing. As always, appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.